What's up, investors? Chase here from the Note MBA podcast. On this week's episode, we talk a little bit of travel. Robby's up in Ohio looking at some different deals, one that's kind of gone sideways a little bit. We've got David headed off to Barcelona. He's got some closings this week. We've got a deal happening up in Oklahoma for yours truly, where the ROI is actually much better than anticipated, which is great. We talk about all of this and more on this week's episode of the show. Check it out right now.
Sure. Yeah, it just was a surprise, and I was stoked to see it happen. So I just was like, it happened just the other day, and I was like, wait, what? So I had to redo my math and go, oh, I guess, well, all right then.
Well, so I can give you a different version of that surprise.
First, seconds, performing, non-performing? What the f***? Note buyers, when it seems like you're in this business alone, know Chase, Robert, and the rest of their tribe are at it every week. They're bringing updates from their own note businesses as they work to find, fund, and finish deals. Follow along as they share their grassroots education with you, tuition-free. If you'd like to know more about what they do and to download the entire back catalog, check out notemba.com. Now, here are your hosts, Chase Thompson and Robert Woods.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Note MBA podcast, your home for note investing on iTunes. I am Chase Thompson, joined by Mr. Robert Woods and Mr. David Glenski. What is up, gentlemen? How y'all doing this morning?
Good morning.
Not all at once now. Mr. Woods calling in, joining us via Ohio today.
Rainy Columbus, Ohio today.
Rainy.
It was nice
Columbus,
yesterday.
Ohio. Oh, okay. I was wondering why that was such a pertinent piece of data there. Rainy Columbus, Ohio. Raining money?
I'm not a fan of driving assets in the rain.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like a raining dollar bills joke, but unfortunately not.
Shit, no. It's they're going down the drain up here.
So it's the opposite of them. Oh, man. Okay. Well, we've got a lot to talk about today. Let's dive in. So we've got copious amounts of travel to talk about on the show. Off the top, though, Mr. Woods, we've already brought you up. So what's going on up in Ohio? You're up there for a single day. Is that correct?
Yeah, I just got in here yesterday about 5, and I'm getting out of town around 4. So just a day overnight. I am up here to inspect a incredibly drawn out rehab. One of the things I had some dinner last night with a couple guys that have a really good rehab, fix and flip, and turnkey rental business up here in the Columbus area. And, we were talking about the note business, and these are some of the guys I met when we went to Haiti. And it was interesting because I was talking to them about, one of the things that I've seen be a struggle internally for my business is some of the long distance remodels. And at the tail end of last year, we picked up 4 different properties in Ohio that I had one contractor rehabbing that was a referral. And I went with the referral. I think we've talked about this briefly, but it's just been incredibly drawn out. And if it didn't reinforce the issue, so to speak, yesterday when I was leaving to get everything ready to head to the airport, I had to order some appliances for a property up in Chicago. And I order all my appliances from the same guy, regardless of where they're at in the country. And he was asking me about, what was the deal with this property? And I'm like, what? And he's like, well, the appliances weren't my fault. And I was like, can you explain that a little more for me? And he proceeds to say that when the appliances showed up for delivery, there was no electrical wired above the stove where the microwave goes. No plumbing in place for the dishwasher to be hooked up with. No line ran for the water, for the refrigerator. And I believe the electric was not set up for the dishwasher either. I think the range was the only thing that had the actual electric set up for in the refrigerator. Anyway, so the property sat there for about another 2 weeks while I was getting everything finished, which is costing, $30, $35 a day in holding costs. So it's just this continued drain from this inefficient contractor that I picked up and hadn't actually found the best way to manage this specific contractor on these properties. And each project he's got just been drawn out. So part of why I'm up here is we're getting ready to list the property. I needed to come do a punch list and walk through before I cut a final check for this guy. but it's a productive trip. I got to check in on that quit claims deed property that went Chapter 13 or went bankruptcy last week that we talked about 2 weeks ago, I guess.
Yeah.
Checked in on one of my performing properties, make sure the exterior still looks good. Went by a contract for deed, and then drove by a couple other assets that are available, so to speak. So, I mean, it's a productive trip. It just, it reemphasizes that, people get into this business, I think, and don't really see what it can be like. We talk about invest outside of your backyard. I have no problem traveling. I don't really like the cold, and I'm not a big fan of the rain today, but, I don't mind traveling. And there are a lot of investors, I think, that are on the education of the gurus, buying, everywhere and anywhere just so they can get a deal, and, maybe aren't exactly equipped to manage a lot of rehabs around the country or even in specific markets. And, my biggest thing with this project, I dropped the ball for not doing a scope of work, and I took the contractor on referral from a good friend. But, still, I trusted. I did not verify. So, I'm sleeping in my own bed, so to speak. I've made it.
So a couple of questions. One, to touch base on, talking about other people that might be coming into the business or people that might be trying to expand, their business and do things outside of a market, or come into a market or whatever the case may be. If you don't mind me asking, and obviously a ballpark, I don't think it'll be a hard answer for you to give me, what has it, aside from time, obviously, what has been the cost for you to get up there and take a look at these? Basically what I'm saying is this is something that you can, a lot of people think they can't do, but you can essentially price this in, when you're thinking about a potential deal or something like that. Or, we talk a lot about having your sideline money for yourself as reserves to be able, right, to not only handle the remodel, but also the occasional, say, travel expense. What has that been for you on this particular deal?
Well, I don't think most people are doing it, because most people aren't actually analyzing deals with an ROI calculator, for one. And beyond that, a lot of these deals right now are so tight, unless you're using your own money to price a lot of that stuff in, you're not going to get the value. Like, you need to spread it across multiple assets.
Right.
So, I'm not going to sit here and say what I think people should spend. I don't know. I think they should know better getting into it, and that's part of the learning lesson. I mean, the biggest thing is most people don't have the lifestyle flexibility.
Wow, sure. I would agree with that. I think we've had, obviously a ton of people have emailed us. We've met them out at events or what have you, and they're, I don't mean this in obviously a derogatory way, but obviously they're still working a 9-to-5 type job or something like that, which obviously, aside from family or like in my case, leaving wife with 3 kids alone for too long, that type of stuff can definitely create a strain. If they're in a job situation, obviously, hey, can I take a day real quick to go travel to Ohio? What for? Oh, my side business. I'm trying to grow to leave you, right? It's kind of a tough conversation for a lot of people to have, I'm sure. I'm excited to hear about the deals that might become deals, the ones that are available. Aside from that, though, glad that you're up getting all of that stuff taken care of. And I don't think it's ever a really good call when you have a vendor calling you about another vendor. I think that, like, right then when you told that part of the story, it's like my heart sunk. I was like, oh, this is not good. This can't.
No, I mean, everything with this contractor has just been one of those learning lessons. Get through it, finish it. It's painful. It's like a bad breakup that can't come soon enough.
Sure.
How do you think you can vet the next ones better? Just by doing a scope of work, or is there anything else that you'd add to the process?
No, I mean, I had scopes. I had sort of semi-scopes on these. What I just didn't do was hammer out as deep of a scope as I should have. There's always a challenge with contractors. I remember sitting in one of our local real estate meetings a couple months ago, and they had a panel of contractors. One that I would call more erudite, a little bit of a shithead personally, made some comment that he's not doing any work without a 50% deposit. And really, I don't want to work with a contractor that can't float doing the work. I mean, that's a whole other sign of what they're doing in their business. If they have to have your money to be able to do the rehab. Now you're talking about a $50,000-$60,000 rehab. Okay, like let's be realistic.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem that I talk to people with rehabs is you've got to stay on top of the contractor. And I had a lot of other things going on, that these were properties primarily owned by me, so it wasn't an issue with delays. But it's just, when one thing becomes another, and it goes to Chase's domino example, where, by the sixth domino he's hitting, it would have been like an oak tree falling on the house.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, a lot of it too is just recognizing what I did wrong probably too was allow myself to give that contractor too much work based off of a referral, as opposed to seeing one project and getting it done. I mean, there's honestly none of the work that they've done I've been happy with on any of the properties. So it's just one of those things. Get through it. It's not the biggest fish I have to fry. It's just one of the ones I want out of my pan, and it's stinking up the house.
You just took that analogy and ran with it. I love that. Oh, fantastic. Mr. Glinsky, you have an extremely tight schedule today for us recording. You've got travel, you've got closings, you've got, just all kinds of craziness going on. So the closings, I'm assuming that's from your real estate agent side of the business?
Yeah, exactly. So that's just a traditional sale. It's actually an investor of mine that I help buy houses around here, and she flips them. So that's a closing I have today in about 30 minutes. But then after that, I come home, I finish the last of my packing, and then I head to the airport around noon, and I catch my flight to Barcelona around 2:30, 3 o'clock.
Another couple of episodes where one of the co-hosts is in Barcelona and it isn't me. It's getting a little ridiculous. No, I love it. You're actually traveling there.
You gotta write it down, Chase. You gotta put it on your goals
list. It is literally. I will make this statement, and then I will. You hear the pen shaking? I will write it down immediately.
No, don't put it on the goals list. Put it on the big whiteboard that you said you put on.
Oh yeah,
your wall,
I got the
right?
whiteboard at the house. Absolutely. I'll text my wife. Hey babe, put on the list Barcelona. Start brushing up on your Spanish. So you're traveling with family, and that's a super amazing opportunity. I personally do not have a close-knit family enough to make any of what it sounds like you've got going on viable. And, that is what it is, I guess. But I do love the fact that you'll be, bringing us, kind of continuations of what you might potentially be working on with your business, other things that you see kind of happening over there potentially, and all that kind of stuff is pretty fantastic. For you, though, you got your LLC finalized this week. What's happening on the note side of your business? What have you been working on this week? Where are you headed? What's going on with that? Yeah,
so it's been kind of a week of learning, especially since I've been tying up other things besides my note business. But it's just been I kind of dabbled with that tape that Paul Burkett sent out, and I actually was in Tallahassee this weekend, and I got to see one of the properties. And man, oh man, I drove from where I was staying with my friend in Tally, and I drove to the asset, and getting there wasn't so bad. It was like down out in the country, so I was getting there. It looked decent enough, the area, but next thing I know, I'm turning on a dirt road that my car can barely handle, and then I pull up to this house that's got like 4 broken down SUV trucks in front of it, like those cargo vans, and the house is like falling apart. It's got like those wavy tin roofs on it, and it just, oh my god, it was really sketchy. So safe to say, I took pictures from inside my car because it looked like people were living there, and I wasn't about to go and talk with anybody that lived in that type of property. But it was an interesting experience. That was like my first time going out and looking at an asset alone.
Wait, did you bring your friend as backup potentially, or did you leave him behind just in case?
No, they had class, so I couldn't bring anybody.
Oh, I see. All right, well that's good. Yeah, there's no reason to take a bullet for an ROI. You just take a picture from the car and rock and roll out the side. So what? what preliminary due diligence did you do before driving the asset? Because you said it started to look good. I'm assuming you meant the surrounding areas you were driving through. Did you do any preliminary? Did you pull it up on, Google Maps? How did it look comparatively? Did you do anything like that?
Yeah. I pulled it up on Zillow, Trulia, Rentometer, like Google Maps and that kind of stuff. Google Maps didn't have a picture of it, so I kind of just took it for what it was.
First sign of a potential problem.
Yeah, I mean, that probably would be a first sign considering the Google Maps card doesn't go that far.
Yeah.
But the comps were solid. I looked at NAR, RPR, that the Realtor comps website. The comps looked decent enough. It wasn't a huge yield or anything, but it was decent. But the house was just torn apart like that. You probably needed to tear the thing down if you really wanted to do anything with the property.
Interesting. Well, I mean, you did basically everything you could do, I guess, right? Like in the general sense, this is speaking to the importance of drive-bys, right? We've talked numerous times, as you would know, David, from listening, now being a part of the show, about having the boots on the ground, having your team intact, wherever it is you're investing for exactly moments like this, right? Like, obviously the Google car is not an equipped Subaru that's ready to go off-roading to be able to take pictures of these rundown properties like this. And it just so happens that you were, lucky enough to be able to drive one of these out. So that was very good. Is it potentially a deal? You say you were on a short timeline or something like that. Everything on paper, is it potentially a deal you would have taken a swing at?
So yeah, if it was on paper and I'm just buying sight unseen, yeah, I probably would have bought this just because it's got like a decent ROI. And forgive me, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think that's a thing that kind of boggles my mind.
That's the point, right?
But yeah, but I think that's kind of what like is crazy to me. There are people, and it's not like it's wrong. It's just some people can't get out there, but it's crazy how some people just buy sight unseen, because when you go out there, like this would have been jaw-dropping and just completely destroyed your ROI because it was awful. Right.
So obviously massive learning opportunity for you there. And you are, I don't want to say lucky enough, but you do happen to live obviously in a state that has a decent amount of inventory, or at the very least historically has had a decent amount of inventory. So there is going to be opportunities for you to drive and all that kind of stuff. You also happen to share a very similar lifestyle opportunity to one Mr. Robert Woods. So the potential for flying out to an asset is also there. But yeah, I mean, I think from your experience as an agent, finding other agents in areas, at the very least, say hiring a We Go Look or something like that for $50 or whatever the cost is for that, to have someone go out and take the photos, have someone out to at least put eyes on the property, to get an idea of what it is you're looking at, is now one of the most important pieces in your book, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there are any other agents out there, they're like in the note business, there are like Facebook groups that are specifically really helpful of finding like referrals for other cities and stuff like that, which I would have used for this asset or any other asset. They're just like hungry agents that are looking for referrals and just help in general.
Yeah. So those are specific for licensed agents?
Yeah.
Man, you just keep raining on my, you got Barcelona, you got your own private Facebook groups. It's just not right. I don't appreciate it at all. So what's up with the LLC? You got that all set up and you're moving forward with it. What's going on with that?
So I've got an inactive LLC, and I'm actually meeting with somebody at 2:00. Now I'm have a phone conversation with somebody at 2:00 today to talk about setting up the LLC in the right way, because the last time I had it, I just kind of went on the sunbiz.org, which is the Florida government website, and I just set it up through there. So I can't imagine it's structured in the safest way. So I'm gonna get priced out and see how much it would cost to get it done the right way.
Very nice. Very good. Growing up in the business. Very nice. Very good. Mr. Woods, I have a question for you regarding this. I wrote it down and I forgot to ask you. You had mentioned obviously only being in Ohio for the day, right? And doing all the stuff you needed to do, and the difficulty that it is for long distance remodels, long distance rehabs. Is a day long enough?
Like, I mean, yeah, for what I'm doing right now.
Right. And which is what, right? Like you said, you're driving out, doing the punch list, taking a look at the assets and all that kind of stuff. What would have made it more necessary for the long term? Because I'm trying to think of myself, me personally, right? Like growing in my business, I want to start also doing the fly out. I also want to start going and looking at the assets. So I'm trying to get in my mind what requires a day, 2 days, 3 days. What's that look like? If there were more assets to drive, if there was more properties for you to look at rehabs on, that type of thing.
I don't know. I'm going to default back to my pornography definition. It was just time. I knew I needed to get up here.
Wait, your pornography dad?
You know the definition of pornography. You've heard it from the Supreme Court. They say you know it when you see it. Like me needing to get up here, it was just time to do it. Nice.
I feel like you make more dad jokes in not being a dad than any other dad I know. Like it's crazy. I had heard that before. I hadn't actually thought of it that way before. But luckily, Robby is here, of course, to make it hilarious. I love it.
Well, there's a million reasons to do it and come up, but you've got to look at, it's not the financial cost. It's the opportunity costs. There's so many things to it. This was just the right time to come up here.
Right.
I don't think most people do it, and most people are going to.
I do have one question for you, and this is something that has been an interesting development on a CFD that we've got going on in Oklahoma. It'll actually be closing, I believe. They've now decided to sell it and all of this kind of action to somebody, I believe actually to a family member. But we'll be getting a full payoff on a CFD that we bought, which is quite surprising from what we thought was going to be happening. Originally, they wanted to offer us a payoff of $19,000 on something worth, I think, close to like 42, which didn't make any sense. And so we had some back and forth on it. But how often do you find yourself in a surprise ROI situation, Mr. Woods, where you have to double check your calculation because it's better than you anticipated?
Well,
is that happening often?
Let's call the opportunity to have the surprise. I'd say every couple months, one of those comes across the desk when it's finalized. I don't tend to get surprised by the ROI just because I can do the math in my head most of the times and I already know what it's going to be.
Sure. Yeah, it just was a surprise and I was stoked to see it happen. So I just was like, it happened just the other day and I was like, wait, what? So I had to redo my math and go, oh, I guess, well, all right then.
Well, so I can give you a different version of that surprise, and then David can weigh in, and this will go back to what I was just talking about, how we started the call with this contractor. When Dave and I were up in D.C. and Baltimore at the property that's basically destroyed, the contractor we met, seemed like he had a good take on what he could get done and, had a lined up buyer for it and could be ready to go. Would you agree with that, Dave, for the most part?
Yeah, no, that's seemed pretty accurate.
So then we went by a townhouse that I've got that needs a remodel, not a heavy remodel, but needs a full remodel. That would be something in his wheelhouse too, right, Dave?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so I've got a third property that I needed to have just a lock change and have him go inspect. He was going to go see. And then a fourth property where the borrower had been reperforming and then stopped performing. And I was like, hey, can you go talk to them? I think maybe she'll be able to, she wants to sell it. We'll figure something out. Now, her values were way off of what it's actually worth. But there was work to be done there as well. And this guy's a realtor. And we talked 2 different times beforehand. He actually went and met with the borrower, inspected the property. Don't know if he got out to the other one. So I wrote him a pretty long email explaining what I wanted with each property as like a phase 1 and what my directions were and what I was thinking. So then I get a call from him the next day. We talk, and while we're talking, he goes, he asks me if I would pay him a fee to do these things for him. And I was like, what? And I was like, no, why would I pay you? I was like, you're either going to get the listing or you're going to get the work. Don't you make money off of listings and remodel work? Isn't that your business? He's like, yeah. And I was like, so why would I pay you? This makes no sense. And the guy went radio silent. And I essentially teed up 4 projects for him. So, that's the surprise different version of an ROI where I tried to give somebody 4 projects and then they just went silent.
I guess y'all would have more experience with this than I would from a contractor basis. But I literally have the same situation happening on my own personal residence. We have had 5 to 6 contractors come out to look at what I assume is a decent job. Like, it's not going to be super hard. It's not crazy. You know, we're not asking for the moon. We're ready to pay, you know, all that kind of stuff. And every single one of them is flaked, either prior to the bid or post bid. It's bonkers. Is it the time of year? Is it the nature of contractors? I feel like, you know, in our weekly newsletter yesterday, I wrote about a buddy of mine who had a friend own actually a couple of Domino's down in South Florida. He had 20 of them. He bought them distressed, as it were, because they were failing. And the biggest problem was, and again, I wrote about it in the email. If you're not on our email list, go jump on. The biggest problem is that they weren't delivering round pizzas. They were like, they had fallen so far off in terms of like the ability to actually meet expectations. They were like these weird oblong trapezoid type pizzas or whatever, which is great if you're like at an artisanal shop or something like that and you'd expect this type of thing. But it's Domino's. Like, just deliver me around. So like this little thing became the reputation of how sloppy this particular outfit was. So all he really did, the first thing he implemented was like just reestablishing delivering round pizzas. And instantly like the business started to grow again, or, you know, started to recover again. And then he was able to turn and flip all 20 of them, the franchises, and make a great profit, all because he started to deliver on expectations. So now I'm sitting here looking across the table from all these contractors that just absolutely will not get back to me. And I'm like, there seems to be an opportunity here just in the expectation realm, just like in the follow-up space. And it's freaking annoying. So I think it's all contractors personally, but that's just me.
Personally, I think it's all business everywhere. Nobody likes to pick up the phone. I mean, take realtors as a perfect example, and not a knock. Well, actually, yeah, as a knock to all realtors here. I'll go out on a limb here. They're terrible at picking up the phone, myself included, for a little while, until, you know, I faced that fear of confrontation. But nobody likes to pick up the phone. You know, you can call people over and over again, and I think Robert can speak to this with, like, you know, calling counties and trying to get, you know, people to direct you to the right place. Nobody likes doing their job. So it's amazing how things get done, but somehow they do.
I love that you are getting into understanding the power of the microphone, David. You're like, I'm not going to call anybody. Wait, no, I'm going to call everybody out. It went from nobody to not even just a couple, but everybody is now getting called out. I think that's fantastic. The last thing I would like to bring up, Mr. Woods, as an aside, I wanted to know if I can bring this up, Robby. Facebook reminded me, you know, they remind you of things that have happened in the past. And it was 2 years ago this week, I should say, but today, that a product was launched. And we were at an event and all that kind of stuff. And so obviously we're going to be at a paper source. So we will have some really cool stuff to share at a paper source if you guys can make it out there. I believe our discount code works through the 15th. For getting you guys about $50 off, I think, or something like that. So definitely do that. But exactly this time 2 years ago, we were at an event. We had a product. We had an interesting market fit with that product. We have something else that we're going to be bringing to everybody in this space that we're very excited about, and that will be at Paper Source. So definitely, if you can make it out. You'll be able to get all your questions answered regarding it, all that kind of stuff. Everyone else will, of course, hear about it, but we'll also have some cool giveaway stuff out there and everything. So I'm very excited. And, of course, Facebook is going to remind me today, because it was today, but 2 years ago exactly.
Really?
Literally 2 years ago to the day, which is very exciting. So we'll have another opportunity to bring something really cool and interesting and fantastic to the market, which I am really excited about. So, and then of course, some cool giveaways that will be on Robby's doorstep shortly. He'll let me know what his thoughts are of them, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, I'm pretty pumped about it. It's going to be a great event. You won't be able to make it though, right, David? Because you'll be over gallivanting about. Europe?
Yeah, no, I probably won't be able to make it. I'll probably be somewhere in Germany. But I'll be there in spirit.
That is unacceptable, my man. Unacceptable. Anyway, any other parting shots, gentlemen, for the fine people of the Note MBA community?
None from this guy.
Just a heads up for everybody. I'm going to be trying to make some travel vlogs and maybe some like real estate videos about learning international real estate. So if anybody has any connections out there, I'd love if they could send them my way because I don't know anybody in Europe.
Oh, very nice. Lovely. You can find all those videos and links and all of the things that we've discussed over at notemba.com in the show notes. This is episode 119. My favorite number is 19. I appreciate both of you. As always, everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, head over to iTunes, give us a rating, a review, and of course, subscribe. Head over to Note MBA to catch all of those great show notes. Check out our YouTube channel. Just all the things. And as always, be sure to remember to tell 5 other people you know this week about the Note MBA podcast. We'll catch you guys next week.
Take it easy, guys.
Yeah.